But, you know, Elaine, I do want to kick it off, though, and ask you, you had a chance to speak with Democratic Representative Jim Clyburn, who has thrown this fish fry for many years. I want to play for you what he actually had to say.
What we're trying to do is pick a presidential candidate who can make the greatness of this country accessible and affordable for all of its citizens. And so whatever they talk about, I would hope they get out of the clouds, get down to where people are, and if you're going to talk about health care, answer the question, how will I make it accessible? How will I make it affordable?
Out of the clouds, Elaine. So what more does he want to see out of this event?
Yeah, I mean, basically specifics, right? He wants these candidates to directly respond to what it is that these voters are going to be asking about. This is really a gathering of the party faithful, and here in South Carolina, they're accustomed to this kind of attention, but they are also well aware of the critical role that they are playing in this particular election cycle. I mean, the fact that you have 21, it's now going to be because Mayor Pete Buttigieg isn't coming, but the fact that you have this many candidates available and accessible is really, as Congressman Clyburn said, an opportunity for these voters to take their initial measure of a lot of these candidates who, frankly, have not actually spent that much time in this state. And so he wants these candidates to make sure they're specific when they are speaking and answering questions, because it's not just the time on the stage. They'll have a chance to eat some fish and rub elbows with folks in the crowd. And those are the moments that Congressman Clyburn said are going to be critical, really, as people start to form first impressions of this very diverse field.
And think about this event. This event is built around the state party convention, so it's a double header. It's the fish fry, a little bit of a speech, glad handing, communicating, and then the state party convention. So it's a two-day affair here. So if you're coming to South Carolina, you've got 2 days and maximum not only regional media attention, but national media attention. This is the prelude to the big prelude, which is in Miami next week, the first two debates. So this is the first time the National Press Corps, descending from New York and Washington, is at one place, one time, to see the largest assemblage of Democrats seeking the nomination, now 21. Iowa had the record for a few days, 19. So this is a place to get specific and to get a little entertaining and to leave a mark, to make an impression. Now, of course, Elizabeth Warren would say, Jim Clyburn, I've been specific for like 6 straight days.
Right, yeah.
I have a plan for just about everything. So not everyone falls into that category. I hear in that a little bit maybe of Joe Biden, maybe a little bit of Kamala Harris, maybe a little bit of Cory Booker, urging candidates to be as explicit as they can about what their plan means to the average South Carolina Democratic primary voter.
I get why this is so important now. I completely understand it. So why is Mayor Pete Buttigieg not attending?
Well, there's a practical and political reason. The practical reason is he's still mayor of South Bend, Indiana. There was a police-involved shooting there that is created, as almost every police-involved shooting does in America now, scrutiny, some degree of skepticism, and some degree of pain. And there's going to be a march in South Bend tonight. And Mayor Pete is the mayor of South Bend, says, I need to be there. That's a practical, managerial, mayor of a city concern. Totally legitimate. There's also something about it that he has to address in the larger scheme of things. Because if there's been one area of kind of criticism about Mayor Pete as a mayor, it's been, what has your role been in resolving differences in racial attitudes within South Bend? What has been the justice system in South Bend? How just has been housing policy there? There's some underlying issues that this brings into somewhat sharp relief. He's got to deal with that. There's also a political calculation, and I'm going to give that maybe 4 or 5% of the entire calculation. When there's 22 people supposed to be in one spot, you can kind of stick out by not being there. You know, by saying, no, I've got to do other things, because at least you get in the conversation. Now, I'm not suggesting there's anything that political about this decision. I think it's driven primarily by the needs of his city and the needs to be a responsive mayor. But him not being here is now a topic of conversation in a way it wouldn't be if he was.
And I have to say, I did ask Congressman Clyburn about that, and he said, in fact, he spoke with Mayor Pete Buttigieg by phone last night, and he was basically informed of what you just laid out. But he also said, look, I understand that kind of a situation. He said very clearly, this is an issue that is important, this matter of police shootings. And so it was interesting to hear that, because this is an opportunity, right, as we just said, for those candidates to come out. And some might say this would be a missed opportunity. Nevertheless, Congressman Clyburn made clear he understood the reasons for Mayor Buttigieg not being able to come and not being able to make an appearance. But you're right, it does serve to sort of underscore, the fact that he is not here sort of underscores that relationship.
And
Elaine, back to the
you've
point
had
about
a chance.
this event being a prelude to a prelude. Let me just jump in real quick, Rena. What I think you can expect to see is not being here, being back in South Bend, somehow that becoming a either jumping off point or reference point for Mayor Pete when he's on stage in Miami later next week, because inevitably these issues will come up. And he will say, I'm living this right now in my city. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what I've done. Here's what I felt. Here's what I've experienced. If you're going to miss a big event like this for the practical reasons of leadership in your city, you better come from that experience with something new and fresh to offer, at least in terms of perspective, if not policy. Keep an eye out for that in Miami next week.
And I want to ask you guys 3 quick questions before you go. Is it cod, haddock? What type of white fish is it? Is it beer battered? And what is the correct temperature to fry fish to get it that crispy golden and soft on the inside?
Do I look like Guy Fieri? What are you talking about?
You're right. You're the guy with the podcast called The Takeout. Wrong person, Elaine.
Yes, I know. Yes, but that puts me in the position of eating the food, not cooking it, not preparing it. But I can answer one of those 3 questions.
Okay.
Well, I can answer 2 of them. The fish is whiting. That's the kind of fish.
Whiting.
The temperature, hot. Okay, that's the temperature, hot. The batter, I have no idea. All I know is that it's served on white bread with hot sauce.
Yes.
And for me, that means less white bread, more hot sauce.
Yes, and I asked Congressman Clyburn, what's the proper way? And he mentioned the hot sauce. I said, so is it considered a faux pas if you don't do the hot sauce? And he's like, no. It just tastes different.
Yeah. So. Don't ask for ketchup. Pro tip, don't ask for ketchup.
How did I know Elaine would deliver on that one and would have asked Clyburn the right question about the fish fry? I want to thank you both for joining us. Look forward to your coverage tonight.
Always delivers.
Always
Elaine
delivers.
Chiano always delivers.
The other one gets the takeout.
We're going to have fun tonight.
Thank you very much. Elaine and Major, we got to go. We appreciate it. Look forward to tonight. Thanks again. And don't forget, as I mentioned, Red and Blue live from Congressman Jim Clyburn's fish fry in Columbia, South Carolina. That's tonight. Both Elaine and Major will anchor our coverage. More than 20 Democratic candidates will be there. And you'll get special coverage starting at 7 p.m. Eastern right here on CBSN.